Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And like the dude just said, solid conservative and just plain right. Well, welcome to it. You have made it to the middle of the week. That means without further ado, there is a sound effect that we have to hear. Hit it, Butters.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
There it is. It's hump day. You have made it halfway through the week. Congratulations. You are almost to the weekend. Just hang in there. The weather has been fair, cold at night, decent during the day, and the weekend is coming, and Butters is on the board. Hey, buddy. How you?
I'm doing great.
You are doing great.
Man, I'm excited. It's going to be a great day.
Like the snorts and sniffles are like behind you now, it appears.
Don't jinx me.
You're drinking coffee and just enjoying the day.
Yeah, I got a nice cool breeze coming through the window.
Nice.
Got a golf course to watch.
All the people that don't have to work out there playing golf. It's awesome.
Man, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Well, we're glad you're not anywhere else because we need you right here. And we got a great show laid on for you. Coming up today, going to have a little bit of a change in the lineup. So, Wednesdays, aside from being the Camel Day, is the day we also play do the Grand Council. Usually it's my brethren, Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson, both of whom had some kind of lame excuse why they couldn't, something to do with like families or Christmas parties or I don't know what. It was lame. Anyway, the bottom line is this. We have two substitute players stepping in. The sous chefs are coming in for the Grand Council. Sean Sullivan, who also is a FM Talk 106.5 morning show guy down in Mobile. He'll be here, Sean Sullivan. And then Scott Buttram, who many of y'all know. He's been on the show multiple times, and Scott Buttram is the publisher of the Trustful Tribune and a guest host for this show. So that being said, Grand Council, 4 o'clock, Sean Sullivan, Scott Buttram. Should be lively. I look forward to it. And then I got a triple dipper full of stuff, so hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So number 1, right out the gate, home fries. You know the deal. Every once in a while we look around and recognize there's so much happening in our state. So many headlines are like, that's worthy of note. People might be curious about it. And it happened right here in your backyard. So we got to take a look at it because what happens in D.C., that's not always near as important as what happens here in your own backyard. So, yep, number 1, out the gate, we're going to talk about cooking up a batch of home fries. Number 2 is flashpoints. You've heard me use that title a couple of times. It's because there are places around this world right now that are on edge, and they are on edge as a matter of both military and foreign policy. And it's wars and rumors of wars, right? I would dare say that in some ways we are already in conflict with both Iran and China. You can't get around it. Now, mostly proxy conflict, mostly what I would call covert conflict, but nonetheless, we don't want it to spill over into overt conflict. So we're going to talk about flashpoints because there's some new headlines that need to be considered. Number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, border madness. Y'all, listen, nobody can look at our southern border and say that what is happening down there right now makes any kind of sense whatsoever. And you also, by the way, can't look at it and tell me there's just nothing we can do, because you can do something if you try. Southern border, we're going to talk about that. Border madness. Oh, it's madness. We'll talk about it. Number 3 on the Triple Dipper. Well, all right, let me jump over here to my comments, my opening monologue, The Rightside Way. And before I do, I always tell you guys, the sponsor of The Rightside Way is our friends at Southern Immediate Care. Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics that covers a huge swath around our very large listening area. Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics in places like Gadsden, Anniston, Attala, 5 locations around Birmingham. They're there for you 7 days a week, and they are awesome. So check them out, Southern Immediate Care. And oh, by the way, tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio. I'd appreciate that. All right, listen, let me jump in here. And I'll just tell you, and I hope you all do too, but every once in a while I realize how good we've really got it here in the U.S. I mean, I'm fed up with illegal immigration, but as for why there are illegals flooding into this great land of opportunity, well, I get it. We're a nation that literally has everything. All of our needs and way, way, way too many of our wants. I mean, if you spend a little time in a foreign country, you will quickly find that the rest of the world knows what we have and what we don't have, and they know what they have and what they don't have. I've spent a year living among the Afghan people. I didn't see a toilet for pretty much the entire time. But then the vast majority of Afghan citizens, they've never seen a toilet in their whole lives. But what's odd is much of the world can say the same. Those that have indoor plumbing often refer to our version of the porcelain throne as a Western toilet. We Westerners, especially Americans, we prefer to sit on our crappers. We have big ones, we have tall ones, we have loos of many colors. We have toilets that sing, toilets that wash, and toilets that clean themselves. I mean, the poo industry is big business in the U.S. So are we spoiled? Maybe so. But recently I saw something announced with great fanfare that crystallized our potty antics in such a way that I had to give it some study. Did you know that in the U.S. alone, that toilet paper manufacturing is a $16 billion per year revenue generator? 16 billion with a B. That's a whole lot of squeezably soft squares, y'all. Recent market studies, and yes, there are people who make a living studying toilet paper. Recent market studies indicate that the average American consumes about 24 rolls of toilet paper every year. That's 2 per month, per person. Some estimates put it closer to 85 rolls per year, but I feel certain that's indicative of a location where people have high fiber diets or eat a lot of fried food or Mexican or anyway. Toilet paper is big doings in America, right? So are we spoiled? Think about it. In America, there is a whole industry that surrounds toilet paper. All the rolls are the same size by some agreed upon standard. So if you go to the hardware store to buy a new toilet paper holder, you don't have to worry about buying the wrong size holder. Why? Because it's ubiquitous. It's part of the world in which we live. Toilet paper, don't mess with it. Research dollars have been committed to finding the best ways to make toilet paper in the United States softer, stronger, less likely to shred, and leave little dingleberries. More squares per roll, more rolls per pack, more packs per shelf. The world is their oyster, and toilet paper is what wraps it up. But wait, it gets better. Because the makers of America's rolled comfort have hit a new milestone. Just when you thought that toilet paper technology had peaked, just when you thought, because I'm sure you all think about this because the people that study the poo industry say that you do, just when you thought that surely there was no other way that the makers of America's laboratories' pillow-soft poo rags on rolls could bring nothing else to bear to our bareness, the latest and greatest innovation has now arrived. Because just recently, Charmin issued press releases announcing that it had broken the code on what people really need in toilet paper. No kidding. There were articles and press releases and new packaging emblazoned with the branding of the latest and greatest effort to ensure that Americans never have to worry about their poo paper being substandard. Charmin announced its newest line of what it calls, you ready? Ultra soft, smooth tear toilet paper. Now I get the soft thing. Foreign travels for me have proven the worth of good old American toilet paper. Some countries, I swear, they don't know how people can walk around knowing the wax paper they put in their boudoirs. But ultra soft? Are there really levels in which one can claim that they have moved from soft to ultra soft? But it's not really the soft aspect that got me. It's the smooth tear. Because apparently, it was hard to tear off squares from the average roll of toilet paper before, which I find to be quite the indictment on American society. Apparently, according to the Charmin press release, consumers had been asking for Charmin to come up with some way for them to be able to tear a square while not leaving a little tail end hanging off the roll. And Procter & Gamble, the makers of Charmin, they are very proud, and rightfully so. Rob Reinerman, the VP of Procter & Gamble, said, quote, "This is something the toilet paper category hasn't seen, and we've spent more than 5 years perfecting the technology and design behind it." 5 years. 5 years spent deciding how best to come up with a wavy perforation that tears off neatly without creating wasted little stringers. Yeah. According to one article I read, and there were many, Charmin has announced that, quote, "It's the first time in a century that the brand has changed the shape of its tissue. Charmin has been secretly letting customers test the new rolls." Really? How did they get that gig, I wonder? The article goes on to read, quote, "The company says the top customer complaint over the years has been the uneven tears from the square shape." Really? But it concludes by making sure that you know that, quote, "straight perforation toilet paper will still be available in ultra strong and ultra gentle toilet paper and the Forever Roll." And so now I'm curious, what exactly is a Charmin Forever roll? Now listen, I must admit that on one hand, I admire the fact that the private sector, without any government subsidies or green energy revisions, has built a better mousetrap. I really don't mind, I'll be honest with you. And I would say that is exactly what the free market is designed to be. I mean, poo paper just got better, and I hope that American citizens are better off for it. But at the same time, you got to admit that this was a first world solution to what can only be described as a first world problem. Don't ever take for granted where you live, y'all. You live in a country where the flip of a switch actually lights up a room, where potholes in your paved roads are considered not normal, where laws ensure that you can speak freely, and where despite our urban growth, we still have countless acres of natural beauty. We are indeed a city on a hill and a beacon of hope, and the rest of the world wants what we have. They want some of that first world, and they would love to have our first world problems, because first world problems beat third world solutions hands down. In America, the average citizen has a car, can live stream TV, a smartphone, and access to retail shopping that would blow the mind of the average citizen of 90% of the world. You have rights like the right to assemble, the right to vote, to worship, to speak. You have the right to due process. You have the right to own land. American citizens have access to schools where kids don't have to sit on the floor. And if we turn on the tap in our kitchen, we can expect clean water. So are we spoiled? I would say yes. But at the same time, I would have to add that we are also truly blessed. And we should never, ever take it for granted. Because y'all, you live in a nation where the average citizen can have toilet paper that's labeled ultra soft and smooth tear. And that, my friends, is a nation worth defending. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, yeah, in case you didn't know, poo paper is big industry. It's just like, who knew? And I can already tell Brian from Huntsville, I knew somebody would do it. Brian from Huntsville saying, don't squeeze the Charmin. There it is. Mr. Whipple, don't squeeze the Charmin. But you know what? When it's like ultra soft and smooth tear, how can you resist? First world problems. It's good to live in the first world. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Well, I had a feeling that particular monologue might get some reaction. Starting with, by the way, I got a text from the lovely Charlene. The first thing she said was crappers and dingleberries, like with lots of caps and exclamation points. She said, well, the men will love this one, but the moral behind it was good. That's my lovely wife.
Yeah. I don't know. We could go downhill really quick with this one.
You didn't have to hit the dump button on it though. We're good. It's all good.
No. Hey, we're hanging in there. I did look up the Forever Rolls.
The Forever Roll.
And I want one. I found
Is it huge?
Can we get a sharp? Yes. It is. I don't know.
Is it for like you can buy it for your house?
Yeah, you can buy. Hey, they have a starter kit. Normally $60. It's on sale for $39.97 for 3 of these giant rolls.
Was it hang sideways on the wall, and then this has to like? What do you do with it? It doesn't.
Well, you have to have one of those stands. You know, the freestanding little toilet paper holders.
That's
the only. It wouldn't fit on the wall. I mean, the thing. I don't know. What is that about? 12 foot across, foot and a half across, something like.
12 inches. You mean?
Yeah, 12 inches. Oh. Yeah, not 12 feet.
12 feet. Like there's a wall. Okay.
No, it's that's
a crazy.
I mean, it looks. They've got a picture of it with a toilet, and I mean, it's.
But you know what? When all the grandkids are coming over for Christmas and everything else, you might want to have a Forever Roll.
The cat would have a field day with.
Oh
with
Lord,
that.
yeah, exactly.
But man, rolling tumors. Oh,
you couldn't throw it. It's too big. Chris from Madison texted in. He said, "If I wasn't about to walk into the dentist right now, I'd be calling in trying to share my Army toilet paper story." I feel certain it's a good one. JT Lacey Springs called in and says, Rightside Radio has reached a milestone. Instead of heading a subject into the crapper through a dipper, it went straight into the show's beginning.
Nice.
What else? Jeff from Indiana. I should invest in toilet paper manufacturing. 2 rolls a month. I go through that many a week, sometimes maybe more. Of course, some people on here would probably say I'm just full of crap. That's where we're headed, bro. I've opened the door for this.
Nice.
What else we got here?
So on the Garmin or not? Yeah, the Charmin site. You were talking about all the bragging they did. The Procter and Gamble CEO credits a great team of innovators on their website. Great team of innovators.
Coming up with a new way to tear it off.
Yes. Hey, I mean,
I shouldn't be laughing, but it just seems
think
so
outside the
innocuous.
box, I guess. But well, it's okay. So stretch this into the things that we take for granted.
Yes.
And there's a lot of work. Right. There's a lot of work that goes into that. So
and the private sector did that. It wasn't like a government study to find the best way to tear toilet paper, but I still look at it and. We were laughing during the break. You said, so when you grow old and somebody says, so what did you do with your life?
Yeah.
Well, that little toilet paper.
Some might say I reinvented the wheel.
Yeah. Or at least a toilet paper roll. Yeah. Nice.
Can I make a wheel rounder?
Let me get a couple more texts in here before we go to the break. John from Decatur says, to realize how lucky we have it, people just need to use the TP from an MRE pack. No
Amen.
doubt. Preach it, brother. Mike from Eva says that monologue wiped me out. Pun intended. Bruce from Hazel Green's asking where Boomer is. Okay, so this has been going on now for weeks, but Boomer is not with us now. He had an opportunity for his family that was just too good to pass up, and we blessed him and loved on him and sent him on his way. But he was actually on the phone a minute ago with Butters talking technical stuff. So he's still out there. He still comes in. Gary H. sends me. Yes, he sent me a picture of the little MRE toilet paper. He says, "Were you ever deployed during Christmas? Tell us your best Christmas deployment memory." I will. We're gonna get to that. We were actually. He says, "My first active duty. I was first year on active duty. I was pulling guard on ammo bunkers in Panama on Christmas of 1983." Thank you for your service, man. I appreciate that, Gary H. And yeah, we've already been talking. We're gonna do some Christmas discussion here for too much longer. Mark from Laredo, Tennessee says, Grand Council, yeah. I'm looking forward to it too. John from Huntsville says, Phil, fantastic monologue. Looking forward to some delicious home fries. Make sure Butters cooks them thoroughly, though, because we've been sitting in the freezer for a while. LOL. Also says, I hope don't get show off the track, but I had to ask, did you hear that the state of Florida is going to apparently investigate the CFP committee's playoff decision? Yeah, it's called sour grapes, dude. I think they need one of those forever rolls down there. That's what I'm thinking. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Well, I mean, like covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation with a show that goes like way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. Y'all, I'm having me a moment right here because I just did that monologue. I did the whole thing about what a great nation we live in, so great that we have toilet paper that is designed to be ultra soft and smooth tear. And I made the comment in the monologue that there was 5 years worth of research done to find the better tearing toilet paper. And they even did studies on it, like, with the kind where you have like people taking part in the study. And dadgummit, one of our listeners didn't just call in and say he was part of the study. So I without further ado, I am going to the phone right now. Champ from Decatur, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am good. Are you telling me that Charmin had you do part of this study for to check out their new toilet paper?
They did. It was a 2-week study that we did. They sent us 2 weeks worth of toilet paper, 2 different styles, matter of fact. Both of them were the wavy, easy tear. One was a little softer than the other, and, we used them, and we commented on it, and, did a little survey online afterwards at the end of each week, and, gave them our thoughts and our opinions on what we thought about their product.
So you're a focus group. And do you have any idea how many people were participating in this focus group besides your family?
No, not really. I know that there was several hundred just in Alabama alone.
Holy cow! Really?
Yeah, yes, sir. And it paid very well. I mean,
did it really?
for what we had to do, $125 for normal daily activity is pretty good money, I've only had 2 goals in life, and my 2 goals in life was to have store-bought teeth and artificial hair, and then I get blessed with this. This is beyond my greatest expectations in life, is to get to test toilet paper for a major company. That's my crowning glory, I think.
You got paid to poop. That's awesome.
That's right. And let people know about it.
Well, let me ask you, what was your verdict when you turned in your results on the case study? Was your life changed? Were you deeply satisfied? What was the deal?
I was highly motivated to change toilet paper brands, and I really do like the easy tear.
This is killing me.
Phil, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. You didn't have the dust and stuff off of some, like you do with some brands of toilet paper. They ask you all these questions. Was it dusty? Did it tear good? You get all. You would not believe the amount of questions that they want to ask you.
This is big news.
How well did it clean? Does it really do like the Bears say on TV? So,
I'd like to say that this advertisement is well worth their $125.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Way to go, Charmin.
So you got paid to poop. You proved the Bears aren't lying. There was no butt dust. Everything is wonderful. It's just like a life-changing moment. This is incredible.
It was. It just fulfilled my wildest dreams now.
Well, Champ, my life is better because you called in. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, I listen regularly, and I enjoy the show, and I said, someday maybe I'll get a chance to talk to Mr. Williams. He's such a fine, genuine person, and I really appreciate what you stand for and what you're doing for our country.
Well, Champ, I appreciate you. And listen, do me a favor. Text in again. Text your shirt size and your regular name and mailing address. We're going to send you a shirt. All right.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's awesome. we got the best audience in the world, man. Oh, boy's life was blessed. He had, what did he say? He had 2 goals in life: to have store-bought hair and store-bought teeth. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
And he also got paid to poop.
And now, yeah. And now he gets a free shirt out of it,
And
man.
a free
It just
shirt, too.
the blessings just keep pouring out.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I am. I'm all broke out in a sweat now. I mean, I'm just. I'm no good to anybody right now.
This I'm not sure how long this is going to take to recover. So
This one just like, we've had a few viral moments in the studio, monkeypox and a few others, but that one, I think we may have hit like some kind of new level. When it gets to the point that I'm over here crying while I'm talking to people because I'm laughing so hard, that is just epic good. A couple more text messages since, there's hardly any time before the break. So before I start my dipper, let me just go ahead and read a few more text messages. Ken from Harvest says, Charmin has put a whole new meaning to my do's do the do. I'm going to leave that right there. Danny from Decatur says, I remember the many rolls of toilet paper that were in C-ration boxes. Oh, he's old school. He said, when I was in Germany, the TP there was like a page of the Sears catalog. Very slick on one side, brown wrapping paper on the other side. It made life kind of interesting. Yeah, this is like awful. What else? Joe from Birmingham says, Dear Florida State, life lesson. Sometimes you do everything right and life smiles. Joe in Birmingham. Joe sends these texts in, and they're like little nugget lessons like you might find in a fortune cookie. They're these fortune cookie texts. We could actually write these down and post them on the wall. That's how good they are. What else we got here? Jeff from Holly Pond is making sure I know. He says, I guess I'm a little conservative. I only use 4 squares a day. A roll lasts me 2 months. Well, Jeff, I worry about you. Just, infection setting in and all that kind of stuff. Wanda from Somerville says, I went to Ukraine on a mission trip. The toilet paper there was like crepe paper used to decorate gyms for dances. I know. It's good to live in the first world, Wanda. It just is. Lewis from Trinity says, I don't know what you guys experienced, but in '79, Army toilet paper felt like 100 grit sandpaper. And it was probably designed that way on purpose for reasons we'll never know. Brian from Huntsville says, a Charmin Forever roll, 12 inches wide. That's for all of us, anyways, talking about, big guys. Yeah. Okay.
not that wide.
No.
Not that's a normal width toilet paper. It's just the roll is
that wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, let's make sure we're clear. A couple more and I'm done. Lulu from Eva says this whole needs to be on a loop. We just need to play this over and over again. I feel certain there's going to be some kind of video come out of this one. I don't know.
Is anybody else thinking I'd just be happy if you gave me free toilet paper? Much less get paid.
You're paid.
Sorry,
Hey, dude. How did we? I forgot to ask him how he got that gig. How did they find him? Anyway, Jeff from Indiana says, "Fella laughed so hard I almost needed some of that good toilet paper." All right. Take me to a break, Butters. We're going to take a break about a minute and a half early, so we're going to come back and kick off the next section of Home Fries. I'm going to spend some time like airing myself out. I gotta open the windows and get some air. I'm just like I'm exasperated from that whole segment. That was awesome. All right, listen, we're taking a break right now. We will come right back. Going to cook up some home fries. Got some news happening in and around the state of Alabama. Things happening in your own backyard. Pay attention, folks. You got to know what's happening. And we're going to tell you. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just making it cool to be a conservative. Hey, so we are going to spend a little time right now doing what I think is extra important. But I've told y'all before, when I was in the state Senate, I quickly came to the conclusion that oftentimes what happens in our own backyard, what happens in like Montgomery, your state capital, is more important and more impactful in our day-to-day lives than even what happens in D.C. or someplace else. It's amazing. The decisions that are made at the local and state levels a lot of times have the quickest impact on your life. It can be everything from local sales taxes that you have to pay at the store, how much gas you're paying at the pump, whether or not you're going to have good roads to drive on, policing, all of it. And so, yeah, I just think it's important that we periodically stop focusing elsewhere and I just kind of bring it in here and talk about things we like to call a batch of home fries. Yeah. Cook it up. Smell it from here. All right, so here's one for you. Just so you know, I am not for this. Just saying. Story came out, I've got it here. I pulled it off of WAFF, Channel 48 out of Huntsville. WAFF is out of Huntsville, but WSFA out of Montgomery ran the story first. There's one of our Alabama lawmakers, Representative Jeremy Gray. He's a Democrat from Opelika. He's planning to run a bill. You've all heard of NIL, right? Where kids in college make money off their likeness. It's name, image, likeness stuff. They get reimbursed, which I already am concerned about what that's doing to college sports in general. He's got a bill in the state legislature that would allow this for high school sports. So you would have NIL deals, and he says, Representative Jeremy Gray says, it could be, an endorsement from Nike, or it could be getting an endorsement from a mom and pop store. It's all down the spectrum. What you can get, it depends on the player. And I just find like, you can chime in, but I'll tell you this real quick before you do. He says, according to the bill, though, athletes cannot be paid for their performance, meaning like every touchdown you get, I'll give you some money. And you cannot be recruited to certain schools for money. And students would not be able to promote their school. It's only for their own name, image, and likeness. I got issues with this.
Yeah, it's definitely a slippery slope. I know in the fishing side of things, I've spent a lot of time dealing with the fishing industry, and the high school fishing is huge. And so Bucks Island, the boat dealership that I've been associated with for a number of years now, we've helped sponsor some of those teams. I don't know. I guess that falls in that category. I've never really thought about it from the perspective of a football.
But you sponsor the team. I mean,
so that it gets kind of sticky. I mean, you can sponsor a team, but you can also just sponsor the angler.
But when you do that, they're like maybe wearing your sign and getting to use your rod and reel, but you're not paying them a check, cash, are you?
No, I mean most of.
Because there are high school fishing teams and there are college fishing teams, and I know that.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are getting money or discounted service on that kind of stuff. But so I mean, I don't know. That's an interesting. I've never thought about it. But the fishing world is, in the college side of things, there's a wide open.
There is. I don't know, man. I just look at though, and I think high school kids. First of all, I think it's ripe for trouble. Like hey, the money's out there, but you got to do this thing. And they're 14, 15, 16 years old. They think, I need the money.
Well, so playing devil's advocate, as a band dad, we got to do a lot of stuff to try and raise money for the band because we don't get money through the school system.
I've been there. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess I've never really thought about it, but hey, if you want to sponsor the tuba player. But
this is not sponsoring like getting a new tuba. Or putting new. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sponsored getting new uniforms for the band, or something for the tennis team or the football team, or putting a sign on the baseball field. I've done all that stuff. But this is different. This is incentivizing the player and giving the kid money. And it's definitely. I just feel like it breaks down the nature of sport. Sport then it doesn't. It's not sports anymore at that point. To me, it's like that job after school. And now the kid, what happens if the kid plays halfway through the season, they decide to quit because their grades are bad?
Some might argue that spending all that time doing that sport in high school just to get a scholarship is kind of looking for a payoff just long term.
Well, okay. All right. I don't like it, just so you know.
I hear you.
It's
a sticky wicket.
I'd rather do a poo paper study than to see that happen. Here's one for you. You heard me talk about the SPLC story here. on 1819 News. So the Southern Poverty Law Center. Oh my gosh, those guys! They're cretins. The Southern Poverty Law Center, based in Montgomery, is a national force for progressives. They are just antithetical to common sense more often than not. They do things like they're the progenitors of the hate groups, right? They make the hate group list. We have learned that the hate group list and the hate map put out by Southern Poverty Law Center is being used by like the FBI and other resources in government, the Department of Education. I mean, they lean on this like it's some kind of, reliable source, when the reality is it's the most skewed and scanted source. When you've got things like the Family Research Council, which is a conservative Christian advocacy group, and they're called a hate group right next to the Ku Klux Klan on the list, or when you have Moms for Liberty. You hear Emily Jones, she calls into the show all the time. That's Moms for Liberty. And all they're doing is working on things like school choice and trying to get, sexual content out of kids' hands in schools. It's drag queen story hour, all of it. And their hate groups? Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center is now being investigated by Congress. Whoop, whoop. So U.S. House of Representatives Oversight and Accountability Committee Chairman, U.S. Representative James Comer, is leading an investigation into Montgomery-based left-wing activist organization Southern Poverty Law Center for its influence on federal bureaucrats. What he's wanting to know, Comer is, he sent a letter demanding to Secretary Miguel Cardona of the Department of Education, and it related to other departments, including the FBI. He wants to know, how much dealings have you had with the SPLC? Why are you leaning on the SPLC? What level of influence is your department getting by referring to the SPLC? And are you openly corresponding with the SPLC in doing so? So a lot of the criticism the article points out from 1819 has revolved around what they call the hate map, which purports to list these hate and anti-government groups. And conservatives are constantly taking issue with it because, like I said, it lists the KKK right next to things like Moms for Liberty. Well, the FBI, by the way, it points out, has already previously admitted to doing what is called forged partnerships with the SPLC in order to gather its information for its own, investigations. And I just look at that and go, man, that's just jacked up. And I am glad to see that someone has taken a stand on this. So Representative Comer is out there saying, all right, you want to play that way? We want to know how much influence you have actually had within the halls of our government, because we can see what you are, you nasty bunch of cretins down there in Montgomery, calling yourselves the Southern Poverty Law Center. I mean, I don't even know what their name even means anymore.
What laws apply to them, as basically acting on behalf of the government? I mean, I think about like the open meetings issues and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're under no contract. They're a 501c3, believe it or not.
So they just get to willy-nilly decide that kind of stuff.
They do, and they make a ton of money by suing on behalf of progressive causes and then settling with government entities and getting to keep the massive legal fees. Now, by the way, they're also in a lawsuit. They've been sued multiple times for defamation. But so far, there's only one case that's actually made it past, because defamation is hard to prove. The burden of proof is so big. And so the SPLC, though, is currently involved in a lawsuit with a group called the Dustin Inman Society. And they're suing, and they were called an anti-immigrant hate group, which affected their donations and things that they were able to do. And the SPLC is now in court. And oh, by the way, the SPLC, for all of its equity and inclusion and things that we have to do for diversity and all the stuff and the things and the wows. They've had some major internal issues, like when their staff completely broke down a couple years ago, and it turns out that there are major charges of harassment inside their own office. So anyway, SPLC is finally being investigated. That's home fries for you right there, because they're based in Montgomery and they've been trashing groups that we care about. And we'll do that. All right, listen, we're going to be taking a break here momentarily. We're going to come right back. Home fries is still going to go. I'm going to tell you when we get back. You may remember yesterday was it yesterday? When did we have Eric Johnston on? That was yesterday, wasn't it? We had Eric Johnston on. He's an attorney who has been doing conservative policy work in Montgomery. And the more I thought about it afterwards, the more I thought, I think he just dropped a bombshell on my show. when he said, as the tail end of his work, that he's concerned that one of the candidates running for Chief Justice, Sarah Stewart, would be soft on LGBTQ activist issues because he found writings that she had done as a student years ago that tend to lean that way. Well, I don't know if I was going to run a story on it or not, but we'll talk about that because in a moment, it turns out one of the other candidates for Chief Justice just got removed from the ballot. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios for hour number 2. We got the local, the state, the national. Sometimes we got the international. And yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, all right, so I'm in this section that talks about the stuff going on around us, around about our state, around about our communities. And we like to call it a batch of home fries. Yeah, just sizzling them up. All right, so here's one for you. You may recall, so yesterday, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I think we just broke a story on Rightside, and that happens occasionally. We've broken several over the time we've been on the air. First out the gate with a story. In fact, this one, I hope it gets picked up by somebody, because to me, if it's true, it's a potential bombshell, at least as an accusation. But you may recall that Alabama's Chief Justice race is on the ballot for the coming year. We have had on the air already one of those candidates running for Chief Justice is Brian Taylor, who I served with in the state Senate, who was an advisor to 2 different governors and an Army JAG officer. So then the other candidate is a current justice of the court, because Chief Justice, you have to run for the actual position of Chief Justice. So Sarah Stewart is already a justice of the court running for the position of Chief, and Eric Johnston was on the show yesterday. Eric is a longtime attorney with a great record who has done conservative advocacy through the Southeast Law Institute and also with the Alabama Pro-Life Coalition for many, many years. I actually gave him an award a few years ago for his work. And Eric was on, and he said he's concerned about Sarah Stewart, because he said with all the laws that we're looking at coming, the bills that we're looking at having in the legislature in the coming year, things that would affect like drag queen, story hour, and the sexualization of children's books and libraries and issues there, and all these, we are looking right now at probably having some what I would call social issues based legislation in the coming year. Have to. I mean, why would we not? He's concerned that Chief Justice Stewart might be predisposed to taking a liberal view of laws like that if they were challenged up to her court level, because he says he found out and he read it that she had published some material or done some things when she was a student government in college that was, conducive to the LGBTQ agenda. And he's thinking, what's that going to mean then if we're electing her as a conservative Republican, so-called? Is she not going to be conservative if those bills get challenged, which they will? How's that going to go? Anyway, that was interesting. That was breaking news, that particular concern or claim. Here's another one, though, about that same race. What I did not know was there was a third candidate in the race. At least there was. So you may recall that more than once we've seen it in the last few years. The parties have a right to declare someone as eligible to run under their party bylaws. Well, something happened to a guy named Jerry Blevins, a Montgomery attorney who had put his name in to run for Chief Justice also. So Brian Taylor, Sarah Stewart, and this guy, Jerry Blevins. Story here on 1819 News came out today, or yesterday afternoon, actually. It says that Montgomery attorney Jerry Blevins has been removed from the March 5th Republican primary ballot for Chief Justice, leaving a two-way race between Sarah Stewart and Brian Taylor. It says that Blevins had qualified prior to the November 10th deadline to run, and his name had been listed on the ALGOP website, but as of Tuesday, his name has been removed. The Alabama Republican Party has a long-standing policy of not commenting on ballot excess issues, so they chose not to make comment. However, here's what we know. Apparently a challenge had been filed by a member of the state Republican Executive Committee. I don't know who it was, but I can imagine a few of them that may have done this, and it sounds like it rightfully so. The challenge alleged that Blevins had supported the Democrat nominee for Chief Justice in his 2018 race against the Republican Tom Parker. I think the world of Tom Parker, and he's a Republican. So here, if you didn't know, the bottom line is this. The Republican committee, the Republican State Executive Committee, the bylaws say if you want to run as a Republican candidate in the state of Alabama, You cannot have openly been seen supporting a Democrat candidate or even an independent against a Republican in the last 6 years. If you do, it disqualifies you because it indicates that you are not really on board with the mission and the agenda of the party. So this guy did, and he is no longer on the ballot. Speaking of which, what you got?
I just think that the importance of home fries, the importance of paying attention to local. It's a whole lot easier for local folks to swap over, and because they know they won't get elected as a Democrat in the state of Alabama in a lot of areas.
Oh yeah, when I was party chairman here, I had a guy call me right here in Etowah County. He called me one day. He wanted to run for county commission. I'll never forget. He comes on, had real country sound. He goes, "Hey," I said, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "You the party chair?" I said, "Yes, sir." "What do I got to do to be an R?" And I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "What do I got to do to get an R by my name?" And I said, "Well, how about you be an R?" And he went, "What does that even mean?" And I said, "Sir, if I have to explain it to you, then you're not one." He didn't run.
Something for us to keep a close eye on at the local level.
I agree, man. Speaking of which, I hold in my hands another article of similar fashion from AL.com. There's this dude named Daniel Bowman. He's in our listening area. I'm trying to think where he's from. Is he from the Shoals? But anyway, Daniel Bowman. So I remember him because he got elected to the state house in 2010, same time I got elected to the state senate. So Bowman comes in. He ran as a Republican in 2010 for reasons that no one can fathom. We don't understand what was going through his head. Anyway, Daniel Bowman comes in, and like within a couple of days of the opening of the session, he openly switched parties to Democrat. Well, we were a Republican supermajority. What are you doing? And so he literally ran as a Republican. As soon as the election was over, he switched to Democrat. He did not get reelected. He was out soon thereafter. And then he came back and tried to run against Congressman Adderholt 2 years later to run as a Democrat against a Republican congressman. Then he came back and tried to run as a Republican a few years later for something else. He's an attorney who was disbarred. He was disbarred for some pretty egregious things that he screamed in the phone at someone, talking about how he was going to kill him and saying some things. And that person reported him and had a recording of the conversation, and he lost his law license because of it. Then he got brought up on charges of misappropriating client funds and practicing without a license because he was still handling some casework for somebody. And now he's trying to run for Congress again as a Republican against Dale Strong. And the party took him off the ballot. They said, you know what? That's a big fat no. And I'll be honest with you, his response, Bowman's response was it was gentlemanly. He said he did not argue with it. He understood why they did what they did. He said that Chairman John Wall told him after the meeting that the door in the future was not closed because the Republican Party did believe in redemption. And he says, I think John Wall's a man of his word, and I think that in time, whether it's 2026 or 2036, that at some point in time there's going to be redemption, and I'm going to be able to do things that I need to do between now and then to hopefully make it sooner than later. Okay, great answer. In the meantime, he's still indicted and waiting pending trial. So he was running as an indicted guy who had been disbarred, who had run against Republicans and had also switched parties from Republican to Democrat. It was ill-fated from the moment it went go. Just saying.
Yeah, that's
That's not the resume you bring with you when you're saying, I'd like to be one of your candidates.
Yeah, that's an interesting track record for sure.
Yeah. Hey, former naval aviator. That'd be you.
What you got?
How do you feel about the F-35? The F-35 Lightning II. Is that the Joint Strike Fighter? Is that what that is?
That is the JSF, yes.
Yeah. Just so you know, we have a brand new F-35 fighter wing that just got its first planes right here in Alabama.
Are they replacing down in Montgomery, the F-16s?
They're replacing the F-16s. So, so just so you know, the 187th Fighter Wing, which is actually a Air National Guard unit, so when I was in the legislature, we passed several things to try and beef up the potential to win the right to get the new F-35 wing brought to Alabama, and we did. So it's going to be stationed at Danley Field right there at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery. And their legacy is the Tuskegee Airmen. So
is it on Maxwell or is it at the civilian airport? I thought the F-16s were based out of.
I could be
civilian
wrong, but
airport,
I've been on Maxwell many times,
yeah,
and there is an airstrip on Maxwell. I've seen C-130s landing out there many times.
Yeah, I know there's a C-130 unit there. So,
so the bottom
That's
line
awesome.
is, it is awesome. So the bottom line is Alabama has, I think, one of the only National Guard F-35 wings. It's the 187th Fighter Wing, and their legacy unit, because the military is big on lineage, right? So you trace your unit lineage back. Well, their lineage goes back to the Tuskegee Airmen, and so they are actually going to paint the tails red on their fighters.
that'll be cool.
That'll be way cool. So yeah, and by the way, this is not just like, yay, we got some planes and a few pilots. No, because the amount of support that comes with it. This is a Air National Guard unit, but it's bringing 1,400 jobs to Montgomery, estimated. That's big doings, and they're getting 20 jets overall. So they're going to have. It's going to take about 5 years to get them all in here. But 20 F-35s based at Maxwell Air Force Base with their tails painted red, brother. And I think that's just way cool.
Nice.
Just liking it.
Nice.
All right, take us to a break there, Butterman. We'll do the break. We'll come right back. Going to wrap up some home fries, things you might want to know your Attorney General did. And oh, by the way, is the legislature looking at some kind of a ban on mask mandates? I'll tell you. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Like, wow. Covering down on some major ground as we literally make it cool to be a conservative. All right, so in this section we call Home Fries, I'll wrap this up with a few more things you might want to know, things that are impacting your state or happening around and about us. First of all, our own Attorney General, Steve Marshall, some of y'all may remember, he's been just like kicking it when it comes to dealing with what I would call the progressive left issues that try to encroach upon our civil liberties, upon our rights, upon our traditional values. Anyway, Attorney General Marshall is actually the chairman of the Republican Attorney Generals Association, and he is as a result constantly out there. He's on national news and doing things on behalf of conservative policy. Anyway, 1819 News ran a story that, I don't know if you remember this or not, but when the October 7th attacks occurred in Israel, it was actually kind of amazing how quickly some of the stories that were being addressed about it had video footage, camera footage, on-site reporting. Like, wait a minute. Did this happen because Hamas actually had its own people like uploading to social media, Facebook Live, I guess, maybe? No. What we found out afterwards is some of the major outlets actually had contract freelance photographers and local reporters working for them that were embedded with Hamas and reporting live on terrorist activities, which is just absolutely awful. Well, Attorney General Steve Marshall recently signed a letter with more than a dozen other state attorneys general that put certain media outlets on notice about potentially providing material support to terrorism when it comes to who they contract with to report on things like the October 7th Hamas attacks in Israel. The letter went out to New York Times, Associated Press, CNN, and Reuters. They were the ones who had contract employees. It does point out that a couple of them did go ahead and sever their relationships with the individuals, but I'm not sure all of them did. The letter says, in the wake of those alarming reports, some of you have cut ties with these so-called journalists whose connections to terror groups have become too obvious to hide. Good. But one factor in determining whether an organization has provided material support for terrorism is that it is knowing. They know. And he's telling them that while he supports free speech and freedom of the press, that it creates legitimate questions when they have existing financial relationships with media organizations that are interacting with terrorists. And that's just, good on you, because the last thing we need is crap like that. AlabamaReflector.com is a fairly new online website. I believe it's run by Brian Lyman, who I know Brian from his days with the Montgomery Advertiser. Brian is fairly liberal, and so this particular story is fairly objective, but you can just read between the lines that he doesn't like it. But this story right here might interest you. Came out just a few days ago, I think Friday. A bill in the Alabama legislature would prohibit mask mandates. How do y'all feel about this? Prohibiting mask mandates. I'm of the mind, you know what? If you want to wear a mask, wear it. I went to an event the other night, and there was a young lady there who wore a mask by choice. I get it. No one was making her, though. I go to the grocery store. There's always someone still wearing a mask. You go to a sporting event or it doesn't matter. Go to church. There's going to be somebody wearing a mask. At least they're out and about. It's their choice. The difference is when they make you wear it. So House Bill 9 has already been pre-filed. They call it pre-filing. It's way before the legislative session starts. He has pre-filed it. Representative Brock Colvin, a Republican from Albertville, a bill that would, quote, prohibit governmental entities and the state health officer from imposing a face mask mandate to prevent the spread of COVID-19 or any other communicable disease. So it's not just COVID related. Although we learned in COVID, they like the control, man. Wow, what else can we do? Apparently we got all kinds of control. Tell people it's scary and they have to stay home and wear masks. Okay. And that happened over and over again. Colvin says, I don't believe the government should have that authority. I think that people are smart enough to make decisions for themselves. I just have the philosophical view that the government should have a very, very limited authority. And this would apply, by the way, to states, counties, municipalities, or any other instruments like K-12 schools, public charter schools, all of them. So anyway, we'll see where it goes. The state health officer, who I'm still trying to figure out why he has his job, Scott Harris, He said that he hopes the bill would just stick with COVID-19 and not include all communicable diseases because you never know what's going to come down the pike. I'm like, whatever, dude. He just wants the control. Please don't take away my control. I'm the state health officer. What, you're thinking something I can tell.
Well, I'm just curious what if that conflicts with federal, like what are the federal ability to mandate that stuff? Is that all held at the state level, or does it even really exist, or are they just making stuff up?
I almost got crass again. I decided not to. I don't think the federal government's going to have a say-so in this. For the federal government to do I mean, you would be violating state sovereignty by saying mask mandate. Now, they can issue guidance through the CDC, but the CDC is not going to be able to say, you will all wear masks or we will send federal troops to take you to jail because they don't have arrest authority. I mean, they're going to use the FBI. They're going to use the Department of Homeland Security. I would hope not. Crazy things have happened, but if there was an emergency proclamation from the federal government, they'd be dealing with state attorneys generals who would say, not on our watch. So
Nice.
we'll see. Here's big doings as we go to the break. We'll wrap up with this one. I'm proud of this. Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Montgomery Police Department, and the U.S. Marshals and the Montgomery DA's office all collaboratively worked on an undercover sting on child exploitation. It took several months to get ready and plan it, and then they arrested 15 people, and they list their names in this article on AL.com. They are literally out there arresting people that were trying to get children to agree to sex acts, paying money for it. And Sheriff Derek Cunningham says, this is something we're not standing for, and it's something we addressed. 15 people taken off the streets. Yeah. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just, I mean, like, wow, covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation, Alabama. And I mean, like to say this show goes way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gaston, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you guys, you hear those ads playing during the break? Listen, that's part of how we sustain operations around here. So in case you didn't know, Rightside Radio, we are a standalone entity, all right? We're a business unto ourselves. The stations you may be listening to us on, they don't own us. We send them our show. But it takes a lot to keep going on what what we do around here. And part of the way we sustain that operation, again, is through selling ads. So if you're listening right now, you may want to know that, like, you're a Rightside ruffian listening to the show. Well, there's an estimated 30,000 plus Rightside ruffians that listen to it every week. So that being said, you may want to consider whether your goods and services might get bought by somebody who listens to the show. And if you want to advertise with Rightside, we'd love to have you. All you got to do, you don't call the station, you contact us directly. You go to rightsideradio.org. Rightsideradio.org, that's our website. Click on the advertising and contact tab and just send us a message, man. We'll get right back to you. We'd love to have you on the team. I met with our sales director this morning, talking through some of the things and laying out the plans. And we actually have some room right now. So if you want to advertise with Rightside, we'd love to have you. Go to rightsideradio.org. Send us the word. All right, so I'm going to go to the number 2 on the Triple Dipper. The toilet paper thing took up a little time earlier in the show. Just now getting through with Dipper 1, but we're on Dipper 2. Serious business, flashpoints. There are some hot spots around this world right now that you have to look at them and recognize that if something spills over, if somebody does the one more wrong thing, if somebody kills the one more person, if one more bomb goes off or missile gets launched, if one more rhetorical thing is screamed from a microphone somewhere, if one more entity does something that could provoke somebody to do something, well then, folks, I'm just telling you, these are flashpoints, and they could quickly spill over. It's like a powder keg with a match being held next to it, some of them. So let me just go through some of these and make sure that you're aware of some things that don't always come out big in the headlines, but they need to be known. And by the way, this one, I'll just pull this first. So Turkey is a NATO ally, right? Which every once in a while you look at and go, really? Why? Because they are aligned with us when it's convenient. Let's put it that way. Do we have an Air Force base there? Yes, we do. Incirlik, we've got a base there, and we go in and out. Do we have conflict over there right now? We do in Syria on their border. And they don't like who we work with, the Kurds. And they hate the Kurds, and they're willing to attack our allies. And then they scream at us. And oh, by the way, they've decided, because they've got some radicals in their government, they hate Israel. So this happened yesterday. It's not a flashpoint per se. It's just part of the weirdness of the world in which we live. I don't know if y'all heard this or not, but a Turkish lawmaker, and I saw the video, a Turkish lawmaker, he's the Saadet Party deputy, his name is Hasan Bitmez. He was giving a pretty fiery anti-Israel speech, right? Standing up there at the podium. They were supposed to be debating the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or something, and nope. Old Bitmez decided he's going to scream about Israel for a bit. And his words were, even if history remains silent, the truth will not remain silent. They think if they get rid of us, there will be no problem. You will not be able to escape the torment of your conscience. Even if you escape the torment of history, you will not be able to escape the wrath of God. Basically what he was saying was, Allah will see to it that you, Israel, are dealt with. And then he dropped dead of a heart attack while the cameras were rolling, right there at the podium. Just turned and went, shabam. It was like a lightning strike had happened.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, really wow. Like, it's one of those things where you look at it and go, oh, shoot, ain't nobody wants to talk now. But I thought I'd kick off with it because, and I did that because, not because I am saying, all y'all going to drop dead of heart attacks if you don't quit screaming negative things about Israel. Could happen. But I'm just saying, I bring it up because the situation in some of these flashpoints is exacerbating tensions in other places that are not even involved. This is what happens when you have a flashpoint. Turkish government apparently cares about what's happening with Israel. Israel's the one that got attacked, but Turkey, a NATO ally, is aligning itself with the grievances of Gaza and the Palestinians and Hamas. And that's supposed to be our ally. And this begins to fracture relations. It begins to interpose itself in trade. And the next thing you know, you've got the opportunity for someone to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and it bleeds over in a big way. And suddenly, we need a NATO ally, and they won't be there because they're still mad about that thing that happened about Israel. That's big doings.
I mean, he's got to be pretty passionate to get his ticker all out of whack like that. So cause himself a heart attack.
Well, all I'm saying is maybe he needed some of that Charmin Ultra Strong Easy Tear.
Yes.
Just saying. But the fighting in Israel, by the way, though, article here from Jerusalem Post, you're not seeing everything that's happening over there, but this is like World War II level devastation. This is like the bombing of Dresden. This is parts of Gaza are being turned into a parking lot, and I don't mean like a little bit. I mean like, because you have millions of people crammed into an area half the size of Huntsville. And so you got all of these folks that are just like jammed in. Well, the way they do that is they jam them into high rises, right? They build high rise apartment complexes and you live on the 13th floor. Well, they're being destroyed. They're being brought to the ground. I mean, the place is a pile of rubble in some areas. And the battles have been epic. Jerusalem Post reports as of yesterday, too, there was one battle most recently where 10 IDF, that's the Israeli Defense Force, 10 IDF soldiers were killed in one battle when they were ambushed. It says, although the general battle of Sajaya, which is in northern Gaza, is going well for the IDF, and they've killed about 350 terrorists so far, it says, the military believes it will have most of the area clear of Hamas's major forces by this coming weekend. IDF forces were nonetheless hit by a multi-round ambush in the center of the Gaza City neighborhood district around 4:30 on Tuesday. 10 killed, 6 wounded. A mix of gunfire and improvised explosives. Says the IDF soldiers were under attack from 2 different locations. The ambushing Hamas forces even had video surveillance of the area, deployed multiple high points. And then there were 3 different groups of soldiers trying to rescue them that were also ambushed en route, 5 of whom were also killed. And it lasted several hours, 2 to 3 hours, although the majority of the deaths occurred within the first moments because it was an ambush-style battle. I mean, we're talking picture Black Hawk Down is what you're looking at here. You're looking at major entrenched urban environment, no greenery. You're talking about it's all concrete. It's lots of high rises and corners you have to look around, windows you can shoot out of, and buildings that have been collapsed and devastated, and IDF soldiers in the thick of things. Meanwhile, the flashpoint gets a little bigger. When you think about this article from the Daily Wire, Hamas is a proxy of the Iranian government, and they admit it. That is, they trained them, they fund them, they encourage them and exhort them, and they push them to go do stuff. Same with Hezbollah. Same with the Houthis in Yemen. Iran is a fomenter of terror around the world. And Iran just threatened the rest of the world with what they call a big explosion. So the Islamic Republic of Iran, according to the Daily Wire, came out yesterday, says that a big explosion could unfold in the Middle East if Israel continues to hunt down the Hamas terrorists responsible for murdering 1,200 Israelis. They say, quote, at least every week we receive a message from the U.S. telling us that U.S. bases in Syria and Iraq are targeted by some groups, says Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian. He says at any moment there's a possibility of a big explosion in the region, one not controllable by any party. We do not recognize Israel as a government. It has been occupying power for 75 years. And he says that the reason why Iran backs terrorist groups it basically is because they're defending the Arabs and the Muslim people of Gaza. So that's Iran telling the world, yeah, we support them. And yeah, we don't recognize Israel's right to sovereignty. And oh, by the way, we're proud of it. And hey, you keep pushing, and there may be a so-called quote-unquote big explosion in the Middle East. Y'all, that's a flashpoint if I've ever heard one. Absolutely. And then it gets worse when you look at what's already happening in the Red Sea. Story here from the AP News. A missile fired by Yemen's Houthi rebels. By the way, keep in mind that the Houthi rebels were put on the terrorism list by President Trump, and within a month of taking office, they were taken off the terrorism list by President Biden. Why? Because he was trying to appease Iran. Oh, that thing that Trump did? Hey, don't worry. We'll take care of it. We'll just take them off that nasty list so there's no more sanctions. Well, they're shooting at ships now, just so you know. A missile fired by Yemen's Houthi rebels slammed into a Norwegian-flagged tanker in the Red Sea off the coast of Yemen near a key maritime choke point. The assault on the oil and chemical tanker expands a campaign by the Iranian-backed rebels that are targeting ships close to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait into apparently now striking those that have no clear ties to Israel. In other words, this tanker had nothing to do with Israel. It's just the Houthis deciding they're going to create chaos and try to create distraction. Houthi military spokesman Brigadier General Yahya Saree issued a video statement saying the rebels only fired on the vessel when it rejected all warning calls. Warning calls for what? The U.S. military Central Command said an anti-ship cruise missile launched from a Houthi-controlled area of Yemen did in fact hit the Strinda. And so now we've got U.S. ships that are having to run maritime security for tankers that have nothing to do with the war in Israel. To include, by the way, story here on the AP from a couple weeks ago. 3 commercial ships hit by missiles and Houthi attacks. U.S. warship shoots down 3 drones. So yeah, one of our Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, the USS Carney, detected a ballistic missile fired from a Houthi-controlled area of Yemen. The missile hit near the ship. And also, by the way, multiple commercial-flagged oil tankers hit by Houthi rebels. Just saying. It's a flashpoint.
Yeah, tankers not really like the little thing called an oil spill. That's not real good. I mean, don't shoot at ships anyways, but you shoot at a tanker. That's a lot of problems.
Where are the environmentalists right now? Hey, Houthis, stop that! You trying to tear up the environment. You're going to affect climate change. We're gonna have fish and ducks swimming in oil. What's going on? Nothing. You know why? Because liberals never call out this kind of stuff. Take us to a break, brother. We'll do that right now. We'll come right back. I got a little bit more you might want to hear. Has China been hacking systems in the U.S.? Well, by God, apparently they have. We'll talk about it. I even got some audio for you on that one. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you about our friends at Southern Immediate Care. Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics that covers a huge swath of our listening area, which is a big listening area. I mean, they're in locations like Gadsden, Anniston, Atala, 5 locations around the Birmingham area. Listen, Southern Immediate Care is open 7 days a week, y'all, which is epic good because if you get sick on the weekend, you don't want to wait till Monday. Southern Immediate Care. And they'll see all ages, by the way. I like to say it's pediatric to geriatric. They'll see all of them. And by the way, this is who I use personally. And I don't use them because they advertise. I got them to advertise because I'd been using them and was so pleased. Every time I've walked in the door of a Southern Immediate Care facility, it's like I'm always so impressed by how clean, how friendly, how professional they are. You can get your shots and your x-rays right there on the spot. So Southern Immediate Care. You need medical attention. I just want to encourage you. Check them out. Find the location nearest to you online and head on down there. They will take care of you. And do me a favor. When you're talking to them, tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio. Southern Immediate Care. I'm going to do this section flashpoints here for a few more minutes. Here's another thing that's just really bugging me. And I even heard the other day, someone said that we are technically at war with Iran right now. And we are technically being attacked by China right now. China is being accused right now. Fox News story here, December 11th, 2 days ago. Fox News is being accused is stating that the U.S. is alarmed as China is hacking our critical systems. If you haven't already heard, cyber attacks have been occurring around the nation. Places like, oil and gas pipelines on the West Coast, water utility companies in Hawaii. They had something over on the East Coast, and I'm trying to think what it was right now. But what they're doing is they're hacking into critical infrastructure, and they're bypassing things that might be considered national scale, and they're hitting them at the local level because they know what a chaos it can bring. And they're finding any number of ways in. Well, the director of the DHS Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency has reported saying that what we're seeing right now is a significant change in Chinese cyber activity from what it was 7 to 10 years ago. When it used to be primarily political and economic, now they're threatening, this campaign is a threatening campaign to establish a pre-positioned advantage in order to trigger a cascading cyber attack that could compromise American infrastructure. In fact, some are saying that it actually is a preliminary. And I've got a piece right here I want to play. And Butters, I cannot recall who's the representative. Do you see it in the clip you got right there? If not, we're just going to play it. It's Fox Business. You can see it. What you got?
I think it's Representative Carlos. Is it Jimenez?
Oh, Jimenez. Yeah,
Jimenez.
That's right. Thank you. A Republican who has some deep concerns about this being interviewed on Fox Business. Go ahead and play it.
On China and House Homeland Security, Congressman Carlos Jimenez. Your reaction to that report, because this is concerning and rattling lawmakers in D.C., and also we're hearing the White House as well, that China, also on top of all what Jillian reported, also tried to break into the operator of the Texas power grid. They operate independently from electrical systems in the rest of the U.S. We understand the U.S. electrical system is not connected. But the level of China's intrusion here and their intent is deeply worrying.
Yes, it is. And today we had a hearing in Homeland Security on the cybersecurity issues here in the United States. And yeah, it's becoming more and more apparent to us that China is preparing to launch some kind of a all-out cyber attack on the United States if, in fact, we find ourselves in conflict with them over Taiwan. And what's really scary about it is that it used to take an army of folks launching all of these attacks against us, but now with artificial intelligence, just a handful of people can start to launch cyber attacks all over across the United States using artificial intelligence.
Go ahead and stop it there, Butters. That's plenty. So what you're hearing right there is a member of Congress talking about the fact that China has been hacking systems around, and they know it's China. They can trace it back. They can see where it's coming from. But these cyber attacks are not seen as something that is benign. They're not just probing. It's as if they are laying the foundation for what it's going to take for them to do what they call a cascading effect on U.S. infrastructure, water systems, power systems, phone grids. How do we bring down U.S. society? Shut off the GPSs. I mean, at that point, how does the ambulance find your house? How does the missile reach its target? You would be amazed at how dependent we are upon GPS systems. So is this a flashpoint? By God, yes, it is. So what I'm saying here is keep your eye on the prize here and recognize that your systems have got to be robust. And I'm talking about at the local level. Your little local water board that runs just your neighborhood systems, it depends upon electronics that tell people, like how much water has been used, and they're hackable. And then you got the water purification systems that have GPS monitoring, and they have the ability to see online what the dashboard tells them how the mix is going in terms of the purification status. Well, every bit of that's hackable. They start shutting that down. Next thing you know, you have your water turned off because they've got to go treat it, and they can't get the plant back up because it's been hacked. This kind of thing is the kind of thing that spooks an entire nation. Is it a flashpoint? Yeah, it's a flashpoint. And what China's doing is saying, basically, without saying it out loud, they're saying, mess with us on Taiwan, and we're going to put you back in the dark ages. That's what they're trying to do. Flashpoints. All right, listen. Scott Buttram just walked in the studio, so we're going to be having some grand counsel here in a moment, and my brother Scott is live. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, okay, we are now on Wednesday. We played the camel at the beginning. That means it's hump day, but it's also the day that we bring in others who are more skilled at this than me, and we ping each other with questions and just see what's what. We like to call it the Grand Council. Well, today, by the way, I am not calling this the B team. I am calling this the other crew. The other crew has showed up because some kind of lame excuse from Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson about having family conflicts and Christmas parties and whatnot. Like, come on, we don't care about your personal life. Anyway, they're not here. But I got some great ones. I mean, like, I reached out and I found, like, the other A team, I guess, is where I'm at right now. I'm just pumping y'all up. But here's the deal. I'm going to call the roll right now from FM Talk 1065 down in Mobile, host of his own show called Midday Mobile. He actually is the guy who runs the station. That would be Sean Sullivan. Sean Sullivan, are you with us?
Present.
You are indeed. Thank you, sir. Hang on. Let me call the rest of the roll because sitting over here, I know he's here. Scott Buttram is publisher of the Trustful Tribune. He is sitting right here with me, and he has guest hosted this show before, too. How you doing there, Scott Buttram?
I'm good. Doing a lot better now that I'm in the Rightside studios. My day just elevated, man.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Well, I pronounce a quorum for the Grand Council. Butters, hit it.
Assemble the Grand Council.
All right. Listen, the Grand Council having been assembled, I'm going to go ahead and defer to the elder statesman in the room. That would be Scott Buttram. Buttram, what is your question for the council? What do you got?
My question for the council. This week, Chris England, I believe he pre-filed a bill that would call for a council to oversee pardons and paroles because he's not happy with the current pardon and parole board. So my question for the council is, does it get out of committee?
So here, I want to make sure I'm clear. We have a Democrat proposing expansion of government to have a board that oversees a board.
He doesn't like the current outcome, so he wants a new board to oversee the current board and make the decisions on pardons and paroles.
So you have board layers at that point.
Board layers.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. So Cam Ward, who is the head of pardons and paroles, served in the Senate with me. I can guarantee you he went screaming to the governor before that bill was even printed out and said, please don't let this happen. So is it going to happen? I doubt it. Is there a need for reform? Very likely. Cam's going to have to get a grip on some of the stuff happening over there. But let me jump over to our brethren from down Mobile way. What say you, Sean Sullivan?
As we play this board game here, Phil, I would say no. It doesn't make it out. It doesn't make it out of committee. And that would whether Cam Ward spoke to the governor or not. I don't think this makes it out of committee. What person who wants to vote on this and have this on their record that like we failed so badly with the last one, so we need to have a board to oversee a board. I just don't see any. Even if people did it for the wrong reasons, there's no political capital in that.
I would dare say you're right. Plus, I'm pretty sure, like I said, Cam Ward is lobbying hard already. But Buttram, you got feelings on this?
Yeah, I mean, I concur with both of you guys. It never gets out of committee. It's going to die there, which is where it should die. It's a bad idea. It was a bad idea from the beginning. I mean, we're getting accustomed to, if you don't get your way, this participation ribbon generation that's coming up. If you don't get your way, let me go appoint my own board and make my own rules. And again, when England, he goes on social media, he accuses the Pardon and Paroles Board of racism because of the demographics. We all know pardons and paroles are decided on a case-by-case basis. It has nothing to do with race. What did you do? What are you in prison for? What was your sentence? How have you acted since you've been in prison?
Yeah.
These are the deciding factors.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. I am pretty sure that I'm pretty sure this studio feels about participation trophies like Jeff Poor feels about Taco Casa. So there's that.
Well, Sean, they're getting close, man. They're getting close.
Yeah, man. I don't like the sounds of that. Yeah.
Sean, what kind of question you got for the council? What you got, man?
Okay, so we talk about what would come up in legislative session. So we know gambling's coming. The harbingers, the robins have flown. You know, when the state decides now we're going to start cracking down on illegal gambling in the state, now we're going to do it. That just means that they're trying to limit the competition, you know, when a gambling bill gets through. So my question is, do we see any chance of a separate lottery bill, or are we going to have a version of what Pro Tem Marsh brought 2 years ago, in that kind of three-headed hydra, that three-headed monster with lottery linked to casino gaming, linked to sports gambling?
The bottom line is that the reason why people always think the legislature won't vote on a lottery bill, the reason why we don't have a lottery in Alabama is because the casino owners constantly demand behind the scenes to be included in any bill that has a potential to be seen as gaming or some type of a game of chance. And so they are their own undoing. Are we going to see another omnibus bill? I think we are. I think we're going to see one that tries to link it all together, and that once again it will kill itself, and the people will, never be in a position to have to vote on it because they're going to wind up. Now, I think they're further along than they were before. I will say that, but I do believe that there's still a whole lot of behind-the-scenes gerrymandering that's going to screw up any opportunity for them to have a clean bill. That's what I'm saying. Not that I'm for it anyway, but I think they're going to wind up having to, they're going to have the backroom muckraking going on. Your thoughts on it, Buttram?
If the last 20-plus years history it means anything, then there'll be some attempt. It won't get anywhere. I kind of feel like that's what will happen. I agree with you. When Steve Marshall started shutting down electronic bingo parlors in Birmingham after they've been operating under everybody's nose for years and years and years, you kind of got the feeling they were going to try to knock out the competition from those guys. But there's always a poison pill, right? Every time they put a bill up, there's a poison pill. The last one was going to give the people running these illegal electronic bingo parlors
monopolies.
A monopoly. Who does that? I mean, that's like handing the mob.
Alabama.
Yes, exactly.
Alabama.
Republicans in Alabama for the monopolies for criminals.
Y'all check up on how we are on medical marijuana.
It's going swimmingly, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't that going great when we decide that only certain people can participate in the economy instead of saying, hey, you have to meet these standards, get in. No, we're going to do the same thing with gambling. That should be just perfect.
Yeah, it's going to work out great, too, when they do that with grocery stores and tell you which grocery store you're allowed to have in your community. It's going to work well.
Right.
Maybe y'all could just tell me, when did the conservative platform change to expanding government, picking winners and losers? I mean, I don't
realize there was money
this.
attached to it.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you, too, real quickly before I go to my question for the end of this round is on the gaming thing. I think one of the reasons why you're seeing more arrests, too, is because the mantra has become, well, it's happening and it's illegal. Therefore, we must regulate it. Therefore, we can keep control of it and tax it. Right. They've been saying that. And my point was, well, you could say that about prostitution. Are you going to say it's illegal, it's out there, we're going to legalize it so we can tax it? What a shameful way of saying this is a good thing.
By the way,
but the problem is, Phil, only a certain number of women would be able to get the contracts, right, for the prostitution.
Sean, it could be any minority. Let's not just limit it to women.
Okay,
you're right.
By the way, sorry about that, Scott.
The bingo parlors that Marshall shut down about 90 days ago, they're all reopened.
Yeah, probably are.
Most of them were in our area. They're all open.
All right, last question for the first round before we go to a break. It's going to be a quick one. So the brand spanking new version of Congressional District 2 in Alabama. Forestry ran a poll. The Forestry Association ran a poll. Dick Brubaker on the Republican side is leading gainfully right now. He had 23%. Next in line was Albritton, I believe, State Senator Albritton, who doesn't even live in the district, but he actually represents a part of it in his state Senate capacity. So Dick Brubaker is way out front right now with good name ID and lots of personal funding. He could fund this thing himself.
He could.
And then Anthony Daniels on the Democrat side appears to be the lead candidate. who lives in Huntsville.
And remind us where District 2 is?
Way down yonder, Montgomery, the Black Belt, the whole area that he doesn't live in, but he says he grew up there in Bullock County. So, and by the way, full credit to Buttram, who asked the question during the break. Is that going to mean then that they'll quit arguing about Tuberville having a house in Florida? Your thoughts? Is it? We looking at a Brubaker-Daniels race? What are your thoughts, Buttram?
If we're going by the polling, I think it could be that way. And, you and Jeff and Dale and I kind of talk a lot on the side. Those are the two that the consensus would probably rise to the top in both parties. So yeah, I think it'll go down to those two.
Well, this comes down to your area now. Half of Mobile's in CD2. So what are your thoughts there, Sean?
Okay, well, first of all, does it matter where you to live anymore? I mean, we go through I guess I grew up with a bad civics class. I kept thinking, you have to live in a district. Nah, you don't. You just have to identify as living in a district. Right? You have to just feel like, I identify. You say, I identify as AL2. But here's the question I have. And yes, I think that's fair to say. But the Republican power, the Democrat power in AL2 is going to be interesting. Looking at like a heat map, and I've seen some of the numbers, but there's a lot of votes in Mobile, and a lot of Democrat votes in Mobile. So it does make me wonder, even maybe if this first time it's too soon, maybe Mobile becomes a player, at least if it goes Democrat. Montgomery's got a lot of votes, but Mobile does as well, and where that push and pull, because right now you've got, like you said, somebody from Huntsville, because Huntsville wants to control everything. So somebody from Huntsville and somebody from Montgomery will be making decisions for somebody living right here in Obile.
You sound an awful lot like a Florida State fan right now, just to be honest with you.
Yeah, you do. Are you a Seminole?
Graduate. No, but I'm not. I may sue them later. Yeah, I might get a player.
All right, fellas, I got to call round one right now so we can head to a break. We'll take the break right now. We're with Scott Buttram, publisher of the Trustful Tribune, and Sean Sullivan from FM Talk 106.5 down in Mobile. They are I think this might be the new Grand Council. But, yeah, and just little old me, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Just like making it cool to be a conservative. All right, we're back for round number 2 of the Grand Council. I think I've enjoyed this more than most. And I'm with right now with Scott Buttram, who's publisher of the Trustful Tribune, live here in studio with us, and Sean Sullivan on the line from FM Talk 106.5 down yonder in Mobile. Buttram, first question, round 2. What do you got?
My question is what I've been asking, and my take or my answer to this question, literally nobody agrees with me, but I'm going to throw it out to you guys and see if I'm going to run it up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes. The 2024 presidential election is in our sights. It's upon us. Do Joe Biden and Donald Trump actually appear on the ballot in November of 2024?
No.
Wow.
I'm going to say Joe Biden, no. Donald Trump, yes.
Okay.
I don't think Joe Biden. I think his party is so apoplectic and they're so intent upon maintaining power that they're going to find a way for him to excuse himself, to be excused, to drink the wrong soup, something, and that Kamala is going to realize she needs to spend time with family. So I'm really of the mind that I think right now Trump's legal issues are real.
Yep.
They're not real in the sense that they're valid. They're just real. And if any one of them gets in the way, then there could be a change. But I think right now, Trump is probably there's nobody in the world who can withstand the things like he can withstand them. I think he's going to grit his way through it and probably make it on the ballot. And that at some point, there's going to be a reason why Joe Biden does it. What do you say about that, Sean?
Well, I mean, seriously, and just to be difficult. So I think both of them are on the ballot. And I want to say this too, Scott, before I get started anymore. I think it's a good time to talk about this. Thank you for having Scott and I on the show today, Phil, because we know that Jeff and Dale are at the Newsom fundraiser. So they're there, and that's why they couldn't be here.
Eating taco casa.
Well, no, they wouldn't allow that.
No,
That'd be some kind of fancy thing. The French Laundry version, Alabama. I don't know where it is, but yeah. So with them at the Gavin Newsom fundraiser, you do have to ask this question: this stalking horse race, how much of it is getting designs on what happens in the next presidential cycle, not this one, or how much is the hey, I'm here, I'm the life raft as soon as Biden steps away. It's easy to say that I don't know, but I don't know. But I look at just the nature of the Democrats so far. If they were really going to do this and push him out, it's going to have to happen soon.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's going to still be Joe Biden. I think they're going to stick with that horse and they're going to run that horse.
I think as of today, I feel like he's gone. But if he makes it to the Iowa caucuses, I think they have to stick with him. I think you're right. Your thoughts, real quick, Scott.
Well, Sean's answer is the most common that I get back. My opinion is neither of them will be on the ballot.
Ooh.
I think the case in Florida is going to be problematic for Trump dealing with the documents.
The documents, yeah.
And whether or not he actually asked somebody to try to delete security tapes, I see some of that could be problematic for him. I'm afraid. I think neither one of them end up there. I think Newsom is running a shadow campaign.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
And Sean, I'll say this: I think they're willing to take Biden out at any point between now and November.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if he
So they
starts
don't
the
think there's
campaign.
any. So I mean, 4 months out, that close?
Yeah,
Or
I could see it. And remember, it will be a Democratic Party decision who they put on their ballot.
Okay, but if they do that, then they've literally got a ticket underway with Kamala, and they're stuck with Kamala having to rise to the top of the ticket. That's for the most part.
Well, that could be problematic. You're right. I hadn't thought about that.
And then bring in Newsom as the VP, and then a year later she's gone.
Let's remember, this is the party of JFK. I'm gonna just leave it right there.
Woo. Okay, the conspiracy theories just budding out right there on the spot. Well, listen, fellas, we ran that question pretty much all the way to the end, but it's going to be. So we'll make that a one question round because it was.
Sorry about that, guys.
Buttram does not. So, Sean, the Newsom fundraiser. What you're telling me is that Dale and Jeff are reporting from it or participating in it. What is your bomb here?
They may or may not be at the Newsom Fund. There may or may not be. I don't know. They neither of them have proven to me that that's not where they are. See what I'm saying? Have they proven to you that they're not there?
We cannot confirm or deny.
Well, Jeff claimed it was a family event, so that means he and his wife and kid all went to see Newsom. That's what I'm hearing.
Getting a picture with on Newsom's lap like Santa. Yeah, everybody loves it this time of year.
All right, FM Talk 106.5 on the radio down yonder in Mobile, host of the Midday Mobile Show, and also, by the way, he's the guy that runs the whole station. Sean Sullivan, thank you very much. Scott Buttram.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, buddy.
Good to see you, Sean.
Scott Buttram right here live in studio, publisher of the Trustful Tribune. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by and doing this with us.
Awesome. Appreciate being here.
All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. Final half hour, go home time. We'll be right back. You are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just, I mean, like covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here. I'm talking about Alabama. And I mean, y'all, wow. This show goes way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. That was. By the way, I think that was an epic Grand Council. You know, it's good when we're laughing and cutting up so much that we didn't even get to the other questions that we had for the council.
Definitely pulled the show out of the toilet.
Oh, dun, are you still?
No, it was great. It was great.
So those who don't know the opening part of the show, by the way, okay, great segue. I'm going to steal it. So I will just say this. If you missed the beginning of the show, you may have missed one of the most virally funny episodes we have ever had. I did my monologue on what a great opportunity it is to live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. We are a first world country in which we can have ultra soft, smooth tear poo paper. Because Charmin spent 5 years researching what it takes to have ultra strong, ultra soft toilet paper that tears off without making a little string, and that's big doings. That's big doings. And then one of our texters called in to say, Champ from Decatur, to say that he had been a part of the case study on it, and they actually sent him toilet paper and paid him to poop for 2 weeks and use their toilet paper and see how it went. And it apparently went well.
It's been a doozy of a day, but yeah, if you missed that,
it's been a doozy of a day.
Well, yeah. If you've ever considered going to download the podcast, if you missed that,
this is the day.
Go hit up your favorite podcasting platform and download it.
This is the day. Yes, in fact, the beginning of the podcast always has my monologue. Today it was called The Land of Ultra Soft Smooth Tear Poo Paper. And then the segment thereafter with the text messages and the call in from Champ from Decatur, I was laughing so hard I was crying on the air. It was epic. Hey, by the way, before I go any further, I gotta pause real quick and tell you somebody else that needs to be discussed on the air, and that is ZLA Solutions. So ZLA Solutions, they are epic good at what they do, and what they do is they help you make your business better. And I'm saying that with all sincerity. I know these people personally. In fact, I'm probably going to see them tomorrow. But ZLA Solutions can do all kinds of things for you: logistics, warehousing. They can help you with business solutions that help smooth and streamline your operations. But they can also help you with staffing. So they'll find you the people. You need folks, they can find folks. And I mean, like, they can find a few, or they can find a whole shift full. They can get you a rack of people. Blue collar, white collar, no collar. They can do the recruiting, the background checks, the drug testing, all of it. So yeah, check out their website, zlausa.com, and see if they can give you a hand. ZLA Solutions at zlausa.com. And do me a favor, tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio. Got a lot of text messages, got some breaking news too, so I think I'm gonna have to forego a couple things that I was gonna do here at the very end. I'm not gonna do this last dipper yet, it's too good. It's on the border, and I wanna cover that in detail tomorrow. But there's breaking news. One of them happened this morning, and that was Hunter Biden. The other one just happened in the last hour, and that is President Trump. So which one do I take first? I'll take them in order of when they occurred. So this morning, Hunter Biden was scheduled to give a deposition before a congressional committee. And if you're not familiar, as a lawyer, I can tell you I do depositions all the time. A deposition is where you sit down with a court reporter, you're sworn in, it's under oath. I mean, it's almost like you're in front of the jury when you do it, and you testify as to whatever the questions are they ask. And, Hunter Biden's under indictment right now. They expect that he might plead the fifth on some things. But he went and held his own little press conference on the steps of the Capitol, called out the Republicans for their mean, nasty tricks of daring to ask him questions and insinuate that his daddy may have gotten some benefit from his business dealings, which, by the way, he openly mentioned that, yes, I did business with China. Yes, I did business with Ukraine. Yes, I made a lot of money, and I had a drug addiction, and I made a lot of bad decisions, and I spent it wantonly. And then he said, and this has been a bit of a change, he said, my father has never been financially involved in my businesses. Oh, pray tell, why did you reword your statement, which was prepared in advance by your lawyer? And oh, by the way, then he refused to do his deposition and he left. He didn't show up for the depo.
Oh, wow.
He left the congressional committee and their and this wasn't going to be a public hearing. It was going to be behind closed doors. He refused to do it. He and his attorney left. After they did their own press conference and called everybody out, then they left. Now, I gotta remind the world, how many times have Donald Trump's kids actually gone and given their testimony as required? Donald Trump Jr. gave something like 40 hours of sworn testimony in a closed-door deposition, 40 hours on the Russia collusion hoax. And Hunter Biden won't even show up. He does a little press conference and leaves. Classic. Because it's good to be a Democrat, I guess.
So is this one of those, well, it depends on what is
Yeah.
with the financial...
That's exactly what it is. And they're going to try and rewrite, the narrative by having a little press conference. His demand is, I want to do a public hearing in front of a congressional committee. Well, okay, we'll do that after you follow the normal course of events, which is do the deposition first, and then we'll have a public hearing afterwards. What he wants is the spectacle of Democrats taking up for him in front of the cameras. That's what he wants. He wants to make his own statements, have Democrats excoriate Republicans, make a big dog and pony show out of it. No, do it like the people you say you hate and can't believe they're MAGA-ites, and go man up and do your deposition testimony. Didn't happen. Here's the other breaking news. So Donald Trump, with all of his legal woes, and there's many, and they're a mess, and the vast majority of them, I think, are going to get thrown out for too much longer. They're going to go out on summary judgment if they're civil. They're going to be dismissed as a directed verdict or out of hand because no evidence is available to sustain the burden of the prosecutors. I think we're going to see some things null prost on the criminal side. But something has happened today that was very interesting. So one of the cases that seems to have the most legs is the one that has a special prosecutor attached to it. And I think it's just a mess. I think it's awful. But it's all related to the January 6th stuff, right? Did Trump indeed incite an insurrection? Did he participate? Did he collude? Anyway, that's the one that Special Counsel Jack Smith has been appointed by Merrick Garland. Jack Smith just recently made a motion for the appellate courts to tell the lower court, whether or not Trump has the right to claim immunity or any kind of privilege as an executive. And this has gone up, and now he's trying to bypass the appellate courts. Jack Smith is. So the lower court judge, to her credit, just said, I now have to stay all proceedings. In other words, the case against Trump on the January 6th issue just got put on hold because Jack Smith decided to bypass the appellate courts and go straight to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court won't hear it right away. If they do, they may hand out a nothing verdict. They may hand down something he doesn't want to see. But what it means is Trump's case just got put on hold, whereas Jack Smith was trying to get it done as quick as possible so he could get this trial done before Trump gets elected. And now, nope, it's going to be delayed. Because the lower court judge said, I no longer have jurisdiction because you have taken this to the Supreme Court as a matter of, it's an interim request. It's what they call an interlocutory order, but still, very interesting development, which is going to slow down Jack Smith's ability to put Trump on trial, which, wow. Have I got a caller online?
You sure do.
I do. Is that, it's Jeff from Indiana. Jeff Rowe, how you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, Phil.
Good.
Hey, keeping on the theme of crap today, let's talk about Hunter Biden.
Do you think he lives in the land of ultra soft, smooth tear poo paper?
I'm thinking he's probably wrapped in it. He's just like a big mummy. He needs to be.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, the
Hey,
old boy had his press conference and then didn't show up for the depot. How about that?
Yeah, you're a Republican in good standing. Can you have the National Republican Chairman anoint Hunter Biden with a temporary membership of the Republican Party, some kind of, memorial, make him a temporary Republican anyway, so that we can get him arrested and dragged before court somewhere.
Oh, so you're saying it's only going to happen if we can say he's actually a Republican, is what you're saying?
Well, have you ever seen any Democrats dragged up for contempt of Congress?
It's been a long time, brother. I even think back to Clinton being impeached, and it made no difference whatsoever. It's like they're Teflon. They just continue. I'm still waiting to see whether Bob Menendez is going to be allowed to just stay in the Senate with gold bars hanging out of his closet.
Of course. I mean, he's got the D by his name. It's like he's like the Teflon Don, I guess. I don't know, but
it's his second go round. So Hunter Biden, we make him. I see. Oh, he's on the screen right now in the studio. Hunter Biden, we make him a Republican, and then he no longer has Democrat immunity, and we get him tried quickly. That's what you're saying. I like it.
Yeah, that's the only way I can see Merrick Garland doing anything about it. Because and even if they don't do anything to him, and he doesn't get blanket immunity or a blanket pardon from Daddy, whenever Republicans get back into office next year, hopefully, I guess the statute of limitations wouldn't have been already expired, and maybe they can drag him back then.
Well, and here's the thing, too. He's got good lawyers. In reality, he's got good lawyers. And I would not be a bit surprised to find out that his legal woes are not going to be over before the election. And he probably wants them over before the election because once you get a new, administration in there, he's not going to have the luxury of the Merrick Garland protectionism that the Bidens have had so long now. It's just, it's going to. I don't know it's going to be a whole new day in my opinion at that point.
How long do you think you would last if they subpoenaed you and you denied a subpoena? How long do you think it'd be before you'd be arrested?
Oh, they'd have a SWAT team at my house. I mean, there'd be no doubt. I mean, the FBI under Merrick Garland's DOJ is heading out to abortion protesters and raiding their house in front of their children. And putting Catholics on the list as extremists and using the Southern Poverty Law Center to find out who the so-called hate groups are. So I have no doubt that if this were me, I would already be in chains and my life would be totally different. I'd be wearing orange.
Well, there goes that two-tier justice system.
That's
why I say we need to make him a Republican fast.
Well,
we can still get him.
What does Dale always say? Dang, it's good to be a Democrat. But all right, brother. Hey, I got to take a break, man. Be safe on the road, all right?
All right, Phil. You have a good one.
You too, buddy. See you. All right, we are taking the last break of the day. Come right back and put a lid on it. I got a few text messages I got to check. In fact, wow. I mean, I don't know if I can get all of them in. All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Let me go to the phones real quick. That's our friend Lee from Huntsville's on the line. Lee, what are you doing? How are you?
I'm good. I'd like to point out that on Friday I got an A+++. I just like to wave that out there.
Woo, woo,
Yes, I
woo.
did.
Okay, good deal. He's always soft on some of the guest hosts, and you were apparently a special soft part for him.
Oh, well, and I even made like 2 good Alabama jokes. So, and I still got an A+++. So.
What's on your mind today?
Oh,
What you
yeah.
got?
Well, I'm talking about Hunter Biden,
Yeah.
and just to see what you think. But I personally think what they're trying to do right now is find an exit strategy for Biden, a parachute, if you will, so he can parachute on out there with his kids in tow without anybody going to prison. And that's kind of where they're at this point. I think they're behind the scenes. There's a lot more going on because I do believe they want to announce a new Democrat at the convention.
Wow. So you're saying they might do something like give Biden an easy out if he could have immunity for his kids and just go on his way. Wow.
Yes, because I think, or he could pardon Hunter Biden on the way out or something. But the thing is that I think they're kind of negotiating in the background. I mean, who just blows off a congressional subpoena?
Yeah. Well, I you know what? I think your conspiracy theory may have legs. That resonates with me, to be honest with you. I can see. I mean, I've been trying to figure out what's the out, because if he just dies, it's going to be the conspiracy theories are going to run rampant. if he just dies,
Well,
and if Hunter commits suicide, it's going to be an immediate conspiracy theory. And then what do they do? So I'm not. You know what? Giving them an out. Listen, we'll stop prosecuting your son. We'll give him a plea deal. You can even offer him immunity from the executive, but you got to leave. And he leaves because he recognizes he's disgraced. Wow.
I think there's going to be a health issue. Something's going to come up where it's an out and where he can leave. But all of this is done behind the scenes with the high-level Democrats saying, but if I do this, we're getting out. We're leaving. We're not going to be prosecuted. So I think that's what he's going for. He's trying to keep everybody out of jail and make the exit because he's made his money.
There's precedent for this because, I can think back to Governor Robert Bentley for the state of Alabama. He left office. He made a plea deal to leave office, and part of the plea deal included he could never run for office again. So he ended his term, left the governorship, and also agreed to never run for office again. That was part of the plea deal. There is precedent for this. That is interesting. Lee, we're up against it. We got to go right now, but we'll be seeing and hearing from you tomorrow on Butters and Lee, right?
Yep.
We'll do it. All right. Have a great night. Listen, text messages were full. I am sorry I didn't get to so many of them. I'll just tell you that you guys are an amazing audience. And I will give a shout out right now to brand spanking new in the text line is Eric from Huntsville. And we're glad you're there, Eric. Appreciate you. So go back, check the podcast, listen to the monologue at the beginning, the Rightside Way, which was called The Land of Ultra Soft Smooth Tear Poo Paper, and the ensuing madness that came thereafter, especially when Champ from Decatur called in and said that he was part of the focus group on the new toilet paper. That was epic. All right, you guys, we love you. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.